Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and good morning if you are joining us live here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or hello, good afternoon, good evening if you're watching us or listening to us later on, and welcome to a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, where we're doing this live right here, as I said, Saturday morning on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because, well, you know it, if it's a Saturday morning, it usually means that that means that there is a pay-per-view this weekend, a big one. Well, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. a certain pay-per-view. And this one just happens to be WWE Fastlane. That's happening tomorrow evening. And as per the tradition, as per usual, I am joined by a special guest who is going to break down the card for me, come up with pinpoint, super accurate predictions. Infallible results are coming your way thanks to my guest this morning, the host of a Wrestling Gal podcast, Ella J. Ella, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I got all the answers right here, all the accurate predictions. So if anybody wants them, I got them. Just kidding. I'm not a mind reader.
I was gonna say. So you have like the teacher's answers, right? You have the cheat sheet.
I got them right here over here.
Look at you and your insider knowledge. I was almost impressed. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna be like. But it's great to have you, Ella. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't, just in case, we talk quite a bit. You've done stuff for us, for Kristen and I over at Bell to Bells as well. We really enjoy your work. Why don't you talk a little bit about what it is you do in the wild, wild world of online wrestling talkie people?
That's a great way to put it. But like Warren said, I am host of a Wrestling Gal podcast all about the female perspective on pro wrestling, whether that's through myself because I am a female, or I do feature a lot of female wrestlers, content creators, journalists, YouTubers, a lot. So I mainly do interviews, but I like to spice it up every once in a while and do some fun stuff, like top 10 wrestling theme songs or like top 10 wrestlers in the world. So mainly interviews, but a lot of fun stuff too as well. And then obviously collaborating with a lot of fun people like yourself, Warren.
Fun? This is wrestling. Wrestling is super serious business. What are you talking about? Who do you think, who's your top 3 top wrestlers in the world right now? Who do you think?
Oh my gosh. Io Shirai.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. That is so hard.
Okay, well, I mean, you said Io Shirai. I don't care about the rest.
Yeah. Love Adam Page.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Who else?
I know.
You know what? You probably won't know this person, but I am good friends with her. Her name's Kingsley. She's from Australia. She does a lot of work with Pro Wrestling Australia, and she's worked with like Jessica Troy, who I've interviewed for you guys for Bell to Bells, and like Charlie Evans, Shaz McKenzie she's worked with, and she is now the leader of her own like stable. So she's definitely one to watch. So if you haven't watched her, I suggest watching her. She is on a steady rise. So I love watching her work. I'm biased, but I'm genuinely proud of her.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna lie. I've found out more about the Australian wrestling scene listening to you. Pretty like everyone knows Shaz McKenzie, but outside of that, Robbie Eagles. I was gonna say Robbie Eagles. He's I think, is he from Australia or New Zealand?
Yeah, Robbie and Madison Eagles. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Oh, they're related. They're related?
I don't know the exact thing. I think so. I don't know the exact relationship there.
Okay.
But I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, the connection there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Look, we're just talking. We're just chit-chatting. But thank you very much. And folks, I mean, go right ahead and follow Ella. You will not be disappointed. Also on Twitter and all that good stuff. We'll give you all the final plugs at the end, but as it stands for now, I want to say a big thank you to everyone joining us live here this morning on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. We have a nice, nifty, comfortable, cozy crowd here this morning. We've got Kristen, we've got Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show.
Love that. What a masterpiece.
Thank you.
There you go, Kristen. What a way to start your morning.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to put music to that at some point.
Yeah.
We've also got JPQ Big Paws on the Pup, who's here. Nice to see you. Spencer Love of Love Wrestling.
Hey,
MC
Spencer.
Carvalho. Yeah, Spenny. We got MC Carvalho, who is my man on the inside in WWE. I don't know if you knew this. And Tim Traver as well. Good to see you, Tim. All good friends of the show. Glad to see everyone here this morning. Fastlane 2021. We started joking about it straight off the bat when I was talking about having a big pay-per-view this week, and I'm like, yeah, sure, big pay-per-view. It's the first, yeah, well, I feel like there's still a lot to talk about, but yeah, since over the past couple of weeks, there's been some build up to the pay-per-view. Ella, how do you feel about how WWE Fastlane has built up until this point? It's the final
stop until WrestleMania. It's the final roadblock, as I guess they like to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like there's not a lot behind it because we already pretty much know a lot of the Mania card, and I don't foresee any major changes happening. They have quickly had to shift some work. I do like the Drew and Sheamus thing they're doing. That's been like a constant thing, but they quickly had to shift focus after having Miz lose the WWE Championship to Bobby, so they had to quickly turn and then like kind of not shove storylines down our throats, but kind of to get themselves over because they're on a time limit. So I feel like are kind of rushing it, but also some things I just don't want to see, and they're taking their time with certain storylines I don't want to see, and I feel like you know which one I'm talking about.
Yep.
But I mean, it's been hot and cold, but like, what else would you expect, you know?
This is the first pay-per-view, and by the way, for the record, I completely agree with you. It's the first pay-per-view that's going to be aired on Peacock. You again, just before we were getting on air, you were telling me that you are a brand new subscriber to Peacock. You didn't have the service beforehand. You're taking advantage of the special deal. I'm in Canada, so like technically our WWE network is intact. I still have all the archives, and at least for once, maybe our dollar is worth like a full 25 cents less than yours, but at least I get to keep the Mid-South archives. You know what I mean?
I'm 15 minutes away from the Peace Bridge, so I'm on my way to Canada right now.
There you go. Just
I'm
pop
not
on
kidding,
over.
Though.
So it's the first one on Peacock. My feeling is that they're kind of using this because it does feel rushed. It doesn't feel very fleshed out as a pay-per-view, and I kind of feel like they're doing this as a test run, like a technical test run for people to try out the live streaming on Peacock, and then cross their fingers, make sure everything goes okay. But if something doesn't go all right, they can fix it, and at least it's not WrestleMania where people would be really pissed.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Peacock thing overall, even?
Well, like we were talking about before this, I haven't actually physically used it. I've heard that there's been mechanical issues with it where you have to watch, and I don't know if this is true, this is just what I'm hearing, where you can only watch it live. So if you try to go back, you can't do that while you're watching live.
Can't scrabble back?
If you miss like the first 10 minutes, you can't rewind or go back to rewatch it or even take screenshots. That's what I heard. I heard they're trying to work on it until like SummerSlam. They hope to have it resolved. Again, don't quote me on it. This is just what I was watching yesterday. People talking about it. So I haven't physically used it. I mean, if it's a good business deal for them, then so be it. But I like my WWE network. Everything is consolidated. It's right there. And again, I haven't tried it out yet. So I don't know if the search option is going to be like really easy and accessible. I don't know how it's going to be. But I mean, obviously they saw something in it.
They saw $200 million.
Yeah,
is what they saw. Look, we're not gonna lie. The big winner here is WWE. It's just as simple as that. It's really like that's what they're doing. So But hopefully they can get back in. They can get everything set up again, just as it was. Get some good functionalities, because I'm convinced that there's a lot of features that are not going to follow. Like probably one of my favorite features of the network is the cataloging of the matches themselves, right? Where you have, like, within a pay-per-view, you have all the matches are separate, and you can search by those matches. And then when you find them, it takes you to the pay-per-view, but exactly at that particular timestamp. And for a guy who likes to go through the archives and likes to watch old matches, that's a big deal. It's just really, really, really simple. I hope, we'll see what happens.
We'll see. They have to do something big for their pay-per-view debut on Peacock, at least we hope.
We sure hope so. Want to say hello to Reese on Wrestling, who's joined us. How you doing? And Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. It's good to see you, pal. Good to see you as well. Well, might as well get into it. Let's start talking about WWE Fastlane 2021. As per usual, I am going to be going through the card in reverse order as it appears on WWE.com, so from bottom to top. So I'm not saying, oh, this should be the main event. This should start the show. However, I will point out this. Before we actually get into the matches that are on Fastlane, we'll talk about a match that has been kind of advertised. I'm talking about Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. It was advertised on Monday, then it was pulled from the card, then they started advertising it again last night on SmackDown, but it's still not on WWE.com. It's not part of the official preview, and you even mentioned that you've seen it in previews on other sites, but
yeah,
like even on the official page. So let's assume that Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon is happening. How do you feel about the match?
About the match, obviously, I think with all the shenanigans that Shane McMahon has been pulling, you have to have Braun coming out here, right? In a straight up, well, I was going to say straight up wrestling match, but I think they're going to have Shane pull some shady stuff, which goes along with his character, but you have to have Braun coming out strong against a heel Shane McMahon in this instance. Not that I'm particularly looking forward to this match, but if they're going to build Braun, they need to have him win this match and beat Shane McMahon and overcome, like, Shane mocking him and calling him stupid and all the slime. It'd be funny if Braun poured some slime on Shane. But we'll see.
So, okay, so who in WWE production carries like these buckets of slime and just leaves them under the ring or wherever? Like to me,
somebody said that they stole them from the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
So, and this is all right, if it had happened like in the same venue like the night before. Yeah. But this means that there's, if you want to start putting logic to it, that means there's some people on the road crew who are carrying these big vats of slime and putting them in the truck and being like, we'll just carry them around. What? I'm gonna tell you, I don't see any value to any of this. I'm a little more cut and dry, and like you said, I'm not super interested in the match. I'm not at all. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of reasons, and most of them go around Shane McMahon, right? And folks, why don't you let us know, by the way, who you think, if this match happens, who will win, Shane or Braun? Please drop a comment in the chat. Yeah, I think Shane being, Vince's kid, little cocky, little arrogant back in the 90s, that was fun. That was cool. Now he's a dad. Like, he's a full-on father. Nothing wrong with that. I am a father myself. This is not being used. I'm using this as a status symbol. Mm-hmm. So when he comes out looking like he does, which is, again, healthy, he's probably in better shape than I am. Probably has better cardio. But coming out and doing his thing, still doing the shuffle and the money song, it's like, come on, Shane, dial this back. Another thing that I don't understand. there's this thing that people seem to think that Shane McMahon is this great mic worker, and he hasn't been for years. And he's been flubbing his lines for years. He had a terrible promo 2 weeks ago to the point that people were thinking he was having a stroke on TV, right? It's like, why is he breathing in so hard into the microphone?
That's what I was thinking. That's all I could focus on in that promo.
And it was all over the place. So yeah, and he's been flubbing lines for years at this point, and he's not that great a mic guy. And then the other thing is, like, people are like, well, at least with Shane, he's going to throw himself off of something. And so everyone in that company throws themselves off of something at some point. Kevin Owens keeps throwing himself off of stuff. It's like, it's not a big deal to me anymore, the Shane McMahon stunt, because everyone does the stunts, right? So when you consider that you have Aleister Black, who's sitting backstage, or we don't even know if he's backstage, but doing nothing, not even being booked, a guy who had an undefeated streak, an unheralded undefeated streak 2 years ago at this point, that you have that guy and you're deciding to push Shane instead for XYZ reasons. I'm sorry, I just can't get behind it. I really can't. I can't. And then there's the whole Braun thing where it's like Braun deserves better, but I think I feel Braun Strowman's ship has passed. Wouldn't you? What are your thoughts on Braun Strowman and where he is in his career right now?
I feel like his ship has sailed. He was built a long while ago as this big, monster among men. He did some funny stuff, but for a while he was booked as this big, scary, intimidating guy, as he should have been booked.
Sure.
But now, not that I've ever been that invested in him. When he's face, he's great with the kids, and when he's heel, like he was great, intimidating. But even when, what was it, like before the Rumble or something, like he came back and it was like this big surprise. I think it was before the Rumble or something.
Yes, it was.
I was like, I'm not interested. Like, I don't really care,
It's
so
crazy.
it's like steadily declined. Not that I've ever really, really cared, but I don't know what they're doing with him. He just seems lost.
And it's crazy when you think that guy was flipping semi trucks.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and we were. I still remember that whole like Roman feud that he had, where they were just where he was just like doing these impossible feats of strength, and I was like, this. It's crazy that it just went down like that. We have Reese in the chat here who reminded me, and he's absolutely right. I had forgotten about this, but Braun he's had run-ins with slime before, like. Where where Miz and Morrison tried to slime him and they slimed Caleb Braxton instead.
That's right.
So I get, Shane was the better man as opposed to Miz and Morrison on that one. They were able to slime him. So from what I'm gathering, you would say that. You'd expect Braun to win this match?
I would think so, after everything they've been calling him stupid and all that. I think if they're going to have Shane come back, I don't think Shane in any world, unless he gets help from somebody, is going to beat Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I agree with you, absolutely. If only I think the only possible... Like, the only other outcome is that they use this as a stepping stone to a WrestleMania storyline where someone comes and interferes, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I agree. So otherwise, I think we both have Braun getting the win here. Want to say hello to Nicholas Nutter. Good to see you. And Connor McCabe. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
All right, let's get into the actual nitty-gritty, the matches that we know are happening. The United States title is going to be defended. Champion Matthew Riddle versus Mustafa Ali. A match that we got just on Monday. And we're doing it again, Ella. It's become a hallmark of WWE booking, isn't it?
Yeah, we're gonna book this match 14 times.
And within a 2 week period, it's
Yeah.
like it's wild. So Riddle got the title a couple of weeks ago, his first defense against Ali. How do you feel about all of this? Talk me through Matt Riddle, Mustafa Ali. Go for it.
I feel like at least with the Ali, they have the retribution thing to tie in. Like you obviously can see some dissension between them because we saw, wasn't it, T-Bar like accidentally distracted the ref and then cost Ali the match, and then Ali got mad. So I feel like if they're gonna build towards a grander storyline, at least it's there. They have some build up towards it. I would love to see Ali go over here, and then maybe I don't know, maybe the Retribution tries to get back in good with him and then they help him win. And then he's like, I didn't need your help. I am better than you guys. And then you
Mm-hmm.
see the distension. But I feel like at least they have a built in storyline here. I'm all for Ali winning. Um, that's really all I have to say.
Well, I think there's numerous reasons why someone could be inclined to see Matt Riddle lose a title here.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them. And I'm with you. Like, we don't have to go through the Retribution angle again. I mean, I think we've all talked about it on our own personal shows, on our old, and I think the feeling about it is pretty universal. And I actually got excited. I actually got excited when they started teasing, breaking them up. Okay, yes, because frankly, I still and as trying to say too many things at once. As much as Mustafa Ali has done his best with this angle, I don't think it suits him. I don't think it's something that I don't think we buy him as a heel, or at least this, puppet master villain kind of thing. Because his strengths previously as being like this good guy, like the light and the darkness, all thing was so strong and sincere, and you really felt like he was speaking from the heart off of all of this. I don't know. I'd be willing to do that. I'd be okay with them switching over to him and just dumping Retribution.
That's fair, especially too, because Ali is so beloved, like off screen too, like on Twitter and like every like socials. He's so beloved. So I mean, that would be refreshing because people genuinely do love him in real life. And if they're not going to book him properly as a heel, then give them some dissension, and then somehow you have Ali maybe versus like T-Bar for a while or something, and break him up. That I think he'd be great on his own too. Like you said, they've given it a run, but I think people love him so much
Yeah.
that they don't want to boo him. And plus it has to do with booking too. They haven't booked them that strongly for a while, and especially as a group who came in and like messed with everything, and like we were like, who's behind this? Who's this faction? And pushed it for weeks and weeks, and then they just book them to lose a lot of the time. It's not believable.
It really isn't. On the Matt Riddle front, I'm gonna straight out. I don't think he's going to lose the title. Like, I think it's too soon. And regardless of, well, I think this is a very WWE thing to do. Like, when the heat was really on Matt Riddle, they depushed him. They had him losing quite a bit, because he came into SmackDown with a lot of fanfare, right? They had the vignettes, the whole. They gave him the big entrance, right? The big time. Hey, Matt Riddle is coming to SmackDown, and then stuff happens, and he's sort of tossed to the side. But this is the WWE thing, right? Let a little time pass. And then, let's go back to, like, I'm not surprised they give him a title, because I really do believe that they see a lot of potential in Riddle for the future. And objectively speaking, he's very good at pro wrestling. He has a lot of upside. But that's why I don't think he's going to lose. I think I think his push is going to continue, Ella. How do you feel about Matt
I
Riddle
I
specifically?
I can see them keeping the title on him. They put him on him for a reason, you
Mm-hmm.
know. He's a talented guy, and I could see them going forward with that. I feel like they don't want to. Well, they sometimes go hot potato title sometimes, but I don't see. He just won it a few weeks ago,
Yeah,
so I don't seeing them hot potato it right now. Especially, well, then again, we've seen that, so who knows? But I could see them keeping it on him and going forward, like maybe keeping Ali and Retribution things separate. Maybe, I could see them doing that. But
there, I guess if there's any silver lining to this match, it's if they drive home the fact that Retribution is sort of splitting, or at least Mustafa Ali is splitting from Retribution. I think that's a good thing. So I have Matt Riddle winning. How about you?
I want Ali to win. But it's like you said, it's only been a couple weeks, so I think they'll book Riddle to win.
I think so too. Yeah, but I'm on the same level as you. Like I'd really want Ali to have a proper title run. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Just want to take a minute to say hello to DJ Kirkby, Mags, who is with us this morning. Good to see you, Mags.
Hey.
Hello, Mags. Match that was announced and made last night, which I actually thought was there to replace Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. Seth Rollins versus... Okay. I should have done my vocal warm-ups. Seth Rollins versus Jesus Christ.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Out of personal pride, I'm going to try it one more time. Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Knocked it out.
There you go. Nailed it.
There you go. Yeah, this was made a little bit out of the blue last night. Clearly, still preying on that Cesaro Shinsuke Nakamura connection that the guys had. Shinsuke coming out basically to, just to tell Seth Rollins to calm down. And Seth Rollins took offense to that. And now we have a match. I am okay with this, Ella.
I very much am too. They're two of the best workers like in the ring. So I'm down for it. I think this could be like dark horse match of the night potentially. Like could be the best of the night, honestly, in terms of in-ring work.
It has those show stealing qualities, doesn't it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Shinsuke babyface turn sort of happened a little bit out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago during that gauntlet match, where it's like, oh, okay, we're supposed to be cool with him again. Shinsuke's WWE run has been a mixed bag, especially for people who were familiar with his work in New Japan. There's it's maybe not exactly what we were expecting, but I think if we get a motivated Shinsuke tonight, because there are moments I felt he was really mailing it in. He was just going in, clocking out, and whatever. Sometimes you do what you have to do. Why risk your body unnecessarily? And for a 5-minute 6-man tag team match on Raw that means nothing ultimately, that has no stakes to it, that has no implications. I'm okay with that. But I feel like if we start getting motivated again, motivated Shinsuke I think is good for everyone, right?
Fire him up. Yeah. And especially too, I feel like Seth Rollins coming back to a lot of heel work and a lot of promos and stuff. It makes the people want to hate him. So you need a good person to counter that so people can get behind. And I think Shinsuke, if they book him right, he's already great in the ring, but if they book him properly, the crowd is going to be behind him. And plus, I think Cesaro is so beloved, so I love that they're kind of rekindling that and bringing it back.
I am all for a Cesaro push. Been wanting it for years, but hey, this is what we got right here. As far as match results go, Ella, and folks, by the way, in the chat, let us know who you think. Shinsuke, Seth, is it the Surfer or the Father who's going to win here? Who do you got here, Ella?
I think it's going to be Seth Rollins. He just came back, but I could also see maybe Cesaro and helping Shinsuke out somehow. But I think they're going to have Seth go over here since Seth just came back, and they're going to push one of their golden boys again.
I think so. And I completely agree with you. And I think it makes sense. I think they're going for Seth Rollins versus Cesaro at WrestleMania, right?
That'd be great.
That would be that would be fantastic. Quick aside, there's a lot of stuff happening at WrestleMania this year that is going to be really, really interesting match-wise. Like, they're really creating some super interesting combinations. That is like, yeah, I'm really excited to see these guys go at this point in their career. You know, but that was a quick aside, and Seth and Cesaro was one of them. So I think Seth wins. I think Seth, you want him going into WrestleMania strong. It makes sense. It all makes sense.
Definitely, especially since he's had so many Mania moments. Like he always goes through strong in Mania season, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over here.
I agree. Hey, did you know that it was Spencer Love's birthday?
Happy birthday, Spencer.
Happy birthday, Spenny, you so-and-so. It must be great. Like, I'm so happy for him. I think he's turning like 19.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Spencer, enjoy your last year before true adulthood.
He's very likely older than that. It's just I don't think Spencer will ever age, is my point. Happy birthday, Spencer. Okay. Next match that we're talking about. Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. I'm going to come straight out and ask you, Ella, are we getting an intergender match on a WWE pay-per-view?
Probably not. I do have some hopes, though, however, and it might just be wishful thinking.
Go ahead. Oh, you do think that they might kind of sort of mix it up?
See, obviously, everybody expects Bray Wyatt to come back, the Fiend, somehow to aid Alexa Bliss, if not take her place. However, with it being Peacock, like the first pay-per-view debuting, I know they teased Rhea Ripley. Well, actually, they announced Rhea Ripley coming to Raw, but why not have her counter that Alexa and Bray thing and have her team with Randy and have her combat that? I really, really want that because Rhea is like a darker character. She's a babyface. I think she would be great in that role. And we already saw Rhea eliminate Alexa at the Royal Rumble. So the little story is already there, you know? Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I really, really want it. What a way to debut Rhea Ripley on Peacock at Fastlane.
That would be that. So
I want it so much.
That's actually really cool. So she in a tag team with Randy Orton, and I mean Orton definitely should go get like a badass, someone like you said has a little edge to her as well. I hadn't thought of that. That would be
I
be
want
really
it so badly. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I want it so badly.
Does at the Royal Rumble, right? And
yeah,
what she did by tossing Alexa Bliss while Alexa was sort of shutting down the screens in the Thunderdome, using her magic powers to turn everything off, and she just throws her out. That made Rhea Ripley the smartest wrestler in the world, right?
I think so. And I mean, I love both of them, but that was such a cool moment.
It was the perfect moment. I was like, fine. She at this point she's invincible. She's too smart for everyone. Absolutely too smart. This I mean, I don't even think this is going to be a match. I don't think there is going to be anything.
Something's going to happen. Maybe you have Randy goes out and then Alexa comes up on the Titantron and somehow she's on the swing set or in the Firefly Funhouse, and then somehow maybe she talks and talks, and then the lights go off. Bray comes out behind Randy and attacks him because Alexa serves as a distraction. I can see them doing that. I would love this match to happen. I'm invested no matter what happens, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well,
so I'm excited either way.
I really think the Fiend is going to show up. I think it's inevitable. I think this is what we go for with WrestleMania. Do you think for WrestleMania. I mean, we cannot not have Randy Orton versus The Fiend at this point.
Oh no, it's right there.
It's right there. It's been building for a while. Do you think it's going to be? What would you do? Actually, would you do a straight up match between Orton and The Fiend, or would you have another Firefly Funhouse match, a la John Cena last year at WrestleMania, with those two?
I think neither. I think they need to come up with something new. As much as another Firefly Funhouse match would be cool, it's kind of already been done before, and you
Sure.
don't want to do it 2 years in a row. I think you want to save it for a couple, like, not be predictable. I don't think they're going to do a straight up wrestling match. I mean, you can't with the character that The Fiend is, and then Randy Orton coughing up black ink or blood, whatever. You can't, you have to have some theatrics or some cinematic value. So, like, I don't like a street fight or like a hardcore or like a lights out, or I don't know, some kind of match stipulation. I think definitely is going to be riding on the line for this matchup.
So something where they'd wail into each other, maybe draw a little blood.
Mm-hmm. Or first blood, maybe. No, I don't think so in this era. But...
No, I don't think. Or some black ink.
Oh, for first ink.
Whoever coughs up the most goo. On my end, I would love to see another Firefly Funhouse match. Yeah. Like they did but like in the same style that they did with John Cena, where it's kind of like a career retrospective, but pulling out all the controversies. Because, Randy Orton has a lot of meta around him, right? He has a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that's happened with this guy, a lot of controversies. Like, I would love, Randy Orton, like, throughout the Firefly Funhouse match to try and shake people's hands and people going, oh no, like just little details like that. Because that's what they did with John Cena, right? Ultimately, they brought up all, he's the golden boy, the heel turn that never happened. What if you start you bring back the Kofi stuff, you bring back the hazing backstage, all the stuff that he's been involved in over the years, the wellness violations. There's a lot of stuff that you could just scratch at with Orton. But either way, like, I agree with you too. Like a match where they're just like wailing on each other, that'd be okay too. But
there has to be something of theatrical value or something more than your standard wrestling match.
I agree. So, what are we predicting here? I think how about 2 levels? How about first, does Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton happen? Is this a match that's actually happening?
In that sense, no.
No. Okay. So
unless somehow they have The Fiend possess Alexa Bliss somehow, and Randy Orton does a lot of great selling, maybe. But I don't foresee it happening.
Well, maybe if she puts on the black lipstick and the black T-shirt and does the buns, maybe then she has a chance. Why didn't they just give her a Fiend mask instead of just having her put on some Hot Topic shit? It's like, give her the mask, a Fiendess mask, whatever. I don't understand why they didn't do that. But yeah, I don't really think this match is happening. And Kristen in the chat, she says, I'm so over this story personally. The whole Alexa Bliss, Fiend, Randy Orton stuff. I mean, it has dragged a bit, and it's been a little hokey, just a little hokey.
Fair. Yeah, some moments I'm like, but I personally like it. But to each their own, Kristen. It's okay.
There you go. Want to say hello to Singo Perry, who is in the chat. And at first I thought it was Shingo Perry, and I was about to say you have the greatest name of all time. But welcome to the chat, Singo. This not a double, but an anything goes match. Drew McIntyre, former WWE champion, versus Sheamus. there is no reason for this match to not be good. I really don't think there is any reason for this match to not be good. But this is my thing. And this is always my main gripe with WWE and their booking. Sheamus last Monday lost to the WWE champion in a match on TV. And also lost while going into a match this week, of course, against Drew McIntyre, the former champ, who Sheamus lost to twice in the past 30 days. So, like I said, outside the fact that we know these guys are going to have their match on Raw 3 weeks ago, was fantastic heavyweight stuff. It was great. I loved it. But other than that, going into this match, there's nothing to be really excited about. There's no stakes. There's nothing. I feel like this feud has been played out. I think we're good. It's like WWE doesn't know how to book a pay-per-view anymore, Ella.
And I mean, we're going into an obvious matchup where you have Drew going over, since they're likely pushing Drew versus Bobby at Mania, right? Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic matchup, but it's always I guess there has to be some level of prediction, right? I mean, we know it's going to be a great matchup, but Drew is obviously going to be going over here and Sheamus is going to lose again, unfortunately. At least they have the thing. I mean, that moment a couple weeks ago was awesome when they both got like knocked out and it was kind of like no contest. That was a great moment. And I mean, this kind of, aren't they like 1-1 against each other or something? This is kind of the defining moment here between them. Not that it's going to have a huge payoff. I don't know what they're going to do with Sheamus after this, though. That's the thing.
It's such a shame because in Sheamus, sure, okay, let's say I intended that pun. It's such a shame for Sheamus because I swear no one on their wrestling bingo cards in 2020 had Sheamus having a great year. No one had that on their, like, delivering. Once he got out of the Jeff Hardy shit, okay, I want to temper this because the Jeff Hardy stuff was absolute trash, and that is a hill I will die on for a whole bunch of reasons. Once he got out of that, got drafted to Raw, he had a legitimately fantastic year end. It's something that we hadn't seen out of Sheamus in years at this point. Now, I was convinced that he was going to challenge Drew for the title at a pay-per-view with all the friendship stuff. I thought they were going to set this up. He's not even getting that, not even getting a chance to win the title. I don't even know what would be what would be good for him for WrestleMania at this point, because the people he's been involved in feuds, Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, are already fighting each other. So.
And I don't know Keith Lee's status currently. It's kind of up in the air. I think they always have Keith Lee and Sheamus in their back pocket because we saw Keith, Sheamus, and Drew as like this kind of trio for a bit, and then Sheamus turned his back. So the writing's on the wall for that one, but I don't know what Keith Lee's status is. That would be something very doable.
You're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about that. That's an excellent point. We still have that. We still have that in the waiting words. Warren, you can put them together. You can use them. But yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. I hadn't thought about Keith Lee. Anyway, look, and I have this theory, and I'd like you to. I'm going to share it with you. And I'd like your thoughts. Because ultimately, like when we go back and we watch old wrestling, we go back and we watch the pay-per-views, right? We, pay-per-views from the 90s, from the 2000s, and so on. And we go back and we watch the pay-per-views and man, this was a great show. And we don't think about the build. We don't think about necessarily the storylines. It's just like, maybe there'll be explained by commentary, but other than that, like, we're going to focus on the match. I'm like, this was a great match. This wasn't so great. And ultimately, I feel like there's a lot of this with WWE pay-per-views. Because I think, I think for the last part of 2020, like SummerSlam on, they put on good to great pay-per-views. I thought that all their shows were fantastic. Like Backlash last year was absolutely fantastic. TLC in December, amazing show. So at some point I'm wondering, what does the build really matter if we get to the shows, to the pay-per-views, and the matches are great? Because when we go back, when we're 10, 15 years from now, when we come back and we watch Fastlane 2021, maybe we'll be like, hey, Sheamus and Drew was absolutely amazing, and we won't have anything to, we won't have any gripes necessarily, because in a vacuum, in a bubble, it was great. That's kind of how I feel about WWE pay-per-views in theory. I don't know if it's clear what I'm trying to get across here, but how do you feel about how, ultimately, is it the build that's most important? Is it the match on the pay-per-view? Like, how does that all come together?
I feel like you make a great point. I feel like it has to all come together, though, cohesively, though. But a lot of the times, we don't even get a build. They just throw matches together last minute a lot of the time,
Sure.
too. So you make a good point is sometimes if you're looking like 5-10 years down the line, what does it matter? Because a lot of the times they throw matches together randomly with no chemistry or no build, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you make a good point, but I feel like for the main storylines, like headlines of WrestleMania or championship matches, there has to be a good build, because you're trying to elevate this world championship and keep it relevant. Or with certain storylines that you're pushing, you need to keep them relevant and keep them memorable, and a lot of that is attributed to a great build up.
Sure.
You can't just throw something together and then it might be good, but is it really going to pay off in the end too and stay relevant? It might have been a good moment, but is there going to be a payoff or a continuing thing? So certain storylines, I think, have to have a good build, like championship stuff, to elevate it, make it relevant, especially if it's like main eventing. But other stuff, yeah, they sometimes throw stuff together that you're not going to remember. You're just going to remember the moments. You're not going to care or remember the build, which half the time there isn't. So it's really ways on both sides.
And you see Nicholas Nutter in the chat reminds us of WrestleMania 31 being absolute trash, but being a very good show ultimately, which is a fantastic point. You see, that's what we're going to remember. Mm-hmm. Quick aside here, Bobby Lashley is not booked on the show. He's not defending. So that means that his first Pape defense is going to be at WrestleMania. I don't want to get into WrestleMania predictions necessarily, but I kind of feel like Drew McIntyre is going to reclaim the title. And it irks me because I don't want Bobby Lashley to be a transitional champion, Do you think, okay, let's break this down a little more just to make sure that, do you think Bobby Lashley should have had a defense on the pay-per-view, considering that he's going into WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre, and there's, I think there's an argument to be made. There's a fair chance that he might lose the title at WrestleMania.
Is Drew and Bobby confirmed for Mania?
Yes, they confirmed it on Monday.
Okay.
And that's another problem. That's another problem I have with their match, with the Drew Sheamus match. I'm like, you're kind of telegraphing the ending here, I feel. It's like, of course Drew's going to come out looking strong here. What are you talking about? Anyway.
I think this match should have been a number one contenders match. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we would have seen Drew win, but I didn't even realize that it was already confirmed that Bobby and Drew were winning. Then what is the point? I think, obviously, Bobby, you'll sit at ringside for this match, and then maybe it doesn't even matter the outcome of this match now that you say it. Maybe him and the Hurt Business will beat up on both competitors, or maybe he'll just have a stare down with Drew at the end. I think he'll obviously be at ringside, but yeah, you make a good point. Like, what is the point of this matchup then, really?
I don't understand, and I'm really afraid that Bobby Lashley is going to be a transitional champion, and it blows, because if there is one thing that WWE did really, really well, two things in 2020. Letting Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka rule the show, mm-hmm. and Bobby Lashley's push, which has been I had spotted it. I had been talking about him and like, keep your eyes on Bobby Lashley. They're booking him super strong. He's not taking any pins. He's not submitting. He's beating up fools all the time. They're positioning him to be a big threat to Drew McIntyre, and look what happens. Sometimes you just have to trust me. But I really think that it's like his booking has been absolutely phenomenal. It would really blow. I think it'd suck if Bobby Lashley were to just be this transitional champion, where you just end up with him winning at one pay-per-view, and then at the next defense he loses it back to Drew. It'd suck, you know?
You're talking to me about transitional champions, Warren.
Tell me about it. Talk to me about transitional champions.
Oh my gosh, we could be here all day. But the thing is, obviously everybody who knows me knows I'm a huge proponent for The Miz, and I was absolutely heartbroken when he won. I totally get they want Bobby Lashley going over, but if they are going to make The Miz a transitional champion, they cannot have back-to-back transitional champions. If they are going to make Bobby Lashley take the title off of my guy, they better make it worthwhile and not have him lose it within a month, because then you have, what, 3-4 title changes within less than 2 months of the biggest championship in this company. No, they better not have Bobby Lashley be a transitional champion back-to-back alongside The Miz. They need to make this worthwhile. Let it play out. Drew had his time. He did great with what he could. Drew does not need the championship back. He is still a high-caliber player in this company. He does not need the championship. Bobby has so much support behind him, and if they took the title off of my guy, that means they trusted them. They better keep this riding out, just for my own sanity.
You make an excellent point. I am in complete agreement. Who do we have winning here? Do we have Drew or Sheamus winning here?
Drew, unless it's somehow like a no contest where the Hurt Business beats up on both of them.
Which is plausible, right? Because I have Drew winning too, but I'm also a big Drew fan. But I mean, I think it would be entirely possible to have Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Business, cost Drew the match and have Sheamus go over.
Very possible too.
The Intercontinental Championship will be on the line. Big E is going to be taking on the new Apollo Crews, who is having a renaissance, I guess, literally, embracing his Nigerian roots. I was looking at him last night on SmackDown, Ella, and I was I was watching it with Kristen.
You're gonna be in trouble.
And I was looking at the split screen interview, and Apollo was fully embracing his gimmick, right? He was giving some looks as Big E was talking, and we're so used to seeing smiley, happy face Apollo Crews, and now it was like there was something dark about him. He was plotting, and I was like, I it's starting to grow on me. I wasn't quite sure at first, probably because the accent was throwing me off. Because at first I was like, wow, this is way too contrived, and it's Kofi Kingston Jamaican accent level of bothersome. But he kind of sold me on the gimmick with that interview last night, Ella. What do you think about all of this?
I think it's really new, and like you said, we've never seen this side of Apollo Crews before, and so I think it's really, really refreshing. And as long as they book him properly, I think this can be really something special and elevating for his character, because he's gotten some pushes with like the United States Championship, and then with he was feuding with the Hurt Business and all that. but I think this gives him new life into his character. And so as long as they book him properly, and I love the push they've been doing with Big E. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that Big E has finally stepped out of his shell and he's been getting that singles run we've been looking for a long time. I think this is going to be a spectacular matchup.
I think that this has the potential to be really great as well. Let's talk a little bit about Big E then. But just really quickly, I want to say hello in the chat to the Bob Culture Podcast. Good to see you. How you doing? And Thomas Gories is here as well. Nice to see you, Thomas. Big E, when I'm still very, very bitter at the idea of splitting up the New Day. I am still extremely bitter about it. It's
valid.
Anyway, moving on. The rants have been done at this point. I just want to underscore that I haven't forgotten. Big E won the championship. You know, a lot of people were excited and are still excited at the singles run. I personally am. He's still very much himself, though, right? You know, a lot of people were saying that, oh, he's got to become serious, you know.
What is this, 2013, 2014?
Yeah. You know, it's like, why would you change the reason why that got him over in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Because
he's fantastic.
I mean, and I know a lot of people remember very fondly, you know, Big E Langston NXT days, you know, where he'd do the powder. Hell, they even tried bringing the hand powder gimmick back, and they tossed that out because it was lame. You know, how do you feel about Big E's single push so far?
I mean, I love it. I love the Big E larger than life character. He's just being himself. I feel like I've met him before in person, and he's the same lovable, funny guy that we see on TV. It just turned up a lot, obviously, for TV to be more energetic and lively, and he gets the crowd going. So why not stop something that I don't see fizzling out anytime soon?
It's such a mystery to me, Ella. When people are like, and they did the same thing with Kofi. When I say they, because it's usually the same people who call this out. It's like, oh well, now you're a world champion. You have to be serious. You have to act like a champion. And Kofi stayed himself, stayed true to himself as well. Why suddenly change what got you over? And look, you can. Here's the opposite. Here's the flip. I'll make a comparison here.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley. Right? When last year, when she came into NXT, the first thing she did is go nose to nose with Shayna Baszler. Everyone's freaking the fuck out. We're going, oh my God, you know, and she's a badass. And all she comes in and she beats people up. She sneers. She gives that look, you know, to the camera, looks around. But then wins the title, starts doing the WrestleMania stuff. And then suddenly she's this wide-eyed, happy. It's like, oh my God, you know, I'm so happy to be here. Look at this big arena I'm going to compete in. And like, hey, this ain't why we like her. You know? So it's like, well, this is how our champions should behave, but that's not what got them over in the first place.
Yeah.
Right?
And then, yeah, that contributed to, I love Rhea, but yeah, her booking contributed to that downfall and just slowly fizzled out.
It just wasn't, I mean, it was just terrible. It really, really was bad. I mean, hey, look, they're trying to do a do-over here. So
let's hope it pays off.
Don't
sincerely.
Don't fuck it up.
I know.
But anyway, look, we were talking about Seth and Shinsuke having the potential of being a barn burner, a surprise maybe. Barn burner match. I think Big E and Apollo Crews has that potential as well. You know, two fantastic guys. We've seen them fight before. They have a lot of chemistry. Who do you think is going to win here? Does Big E retain, or does Apollo does Apollo win gold for Nigeria?
I don't think so yet. I feel like it's still something that's relatively new that they need more time.
Okay.
I mean, I could see him throwing the strap onto him, but I don't foresee them halting Big E's like championship run right now. I think Apollo will have his time. I just don't think now is the time for it. So I think Big E's gonna retain.
Interesting. I'm gonna go bold here, and I'm gonna go with Apollo winning.
Okay.
And this is basically to I want WWE to prove to me that they're finally doing an Apollo Crews push. You know, that they're going to do it properly, because I feel like WWE has conditioned us to never really get behind an Apollo Crews push, because every time it sort of starts gaining momentum and you're like, okay, this is good, then it starts to deflate.
Stop, start. Yep.
Exactly. So now we're starting, and I think, like, again, it's all personal, right? These are all it's your opinions, it's my opinions. Apollo Crews sold me on his gimmick last night. He really did. So I'm like, okay, well, I think that there's something substantial here. There's meat on the bone. Give the guy the title, and then let's go to WrestleMania. Let's have, I mean, if we were going to do the 14 matches between these two again, let's go to WrestleMania with a stipulation. A Nigerian street fight or something.
I mean, we've seen a Punjabi.
Oh, no. No, Ella! You just cursed it. All right. Well, so we're at odds here, but I mean, I think this is going to be a great match, regardless. The WWE Women's Tag Team matches are also going to be on the line, Ella. Have you heard?
No, I haven't heard.
Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are going to defend against WrestleMania opponents Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. How will they ever get along? They haven't been getting along. And does Sasha Banks have feelings for Reginald? Ella, what's going on? This is such good shit, pal. Reginald. I love it.
Never do that again. No, but they have to finally book the true dissension between Sasha and Bianca. They need to have one of them going. They could have them both going in as faces, but this is the moment where you have one of them turn on the other. And we've seen it teased a bit, lately, but this is the moment. They're not going to win the women's tag team championships, but they need to capitalize and have them finally part ways and dissension, and then you can focus on WrestleMania and build that. You need to actually build that they are against each other. So this is the moment. They're not going to win. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because they pulled stuff like this before, but they need to capitalize on this loss for the bigger picture and have them finally part ways and have them be finally butting heads, so we can finally focus on this WrestleMania dream match happening.
It's still wild to me that they being WWE decided to go with one of their biggest and most tired tropes. The two competitors being in a tag team.
Yeah.
Like it's not even interesting anymore. Like it's so deflating and boring and it's the kind of thing that makes me pull my hair out. And I'm like, why are we doing, especially when you have a feud here? It just builds itself. And if anything, what they should be doing is just having Bianca, beat people up in the meantime. Have her have a nice singles match at Fastlane. Hey, have her beat Bayley at Fastlane. They're not doing anything with Bayley right now. Bayley's like, hey, there you go. I'm a former champion, blah, blah. And they've had the match in the past, but do it again. It was a good match, and it gives a little something for Bayley to do, helps make Bianca even more credible. Have her beat PC people in the meantime. Wasn't Santana Garrett up at SmackDown last night? She posted a picture of herself in the Thunderdome at SmackDown.
I think so.
So, I mean, just have Bianca squash fools in the meantime. This, the Reginald stuff, I think it's like they're just layers of stuff where you don't need them. You're fighting for a title. You're fighting for the women's championship. That ultimately, that's all you need as far as reasons go. You don't need dissent between the. Oh, you're not focused because because of your feelings. Your feelings for Reginald. What feelings for Reginald? What are you talking about? I have feelings for Reginald. I do not. And then in the meantime, he's shopping with Nia Jax. The other, you were talking about the dissent between Sasha and Bianca. What about the dissent between Nia and Shayna? Let's just pull the trigger on this. I am so
that's always been there personally.
But let's pull the trigger on it. I am so sick of Shayna Baszler being second fiddle to Nia Jax. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. Do you know how much I don't like Nia Jax, Ella?
I can tell. I'm personally not a big fan of either of them.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair.
But however, Shayna, for some reason, Shayna, ever since teaming up with Nia, I've actually kind of liked her a little bit more because she's had some more funny moments. We've seen more than just the intense person. I do get, though, that people miss the crazy, intense, intimidating Shayna Baszler that was winning all the time. I get that. But I mean, I haven't hated the run, but it's made me like Shayna a little bit more. Not that I'm a huge fan, but
right.
it's just me.
Okay, no, that's fair.
But still,
I just can't, like, you know, Nia, and again, this is always, you know, as a performer, as someone who goes on television, not as a human being, not as, you know, but as a wrestler, I think Nia is the worst, and you know, the decisions that are made around her and protecting her anyway. Yeah. Look, I just I can't stand her at all.
He digresses.
Conrad in the chat said he makes a good point. He says Reginald spending Nia's stimulus check. He says that's a W for a heel. Suddenly, I have a little more appreciation for Reginald. That's really funny. As far as this match goes, Ella, who is going to win? Do the champs retain, or do we get Sasha 2 belts?
Champs have to retain. They do not have enough time to have Sasha and Bianca win the titles, lose the titles, and properly build up towards Mania. Because we have after this? We have 3 weeks?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No. No. They do not have enough time to do that.
So we're good. So the champions retain. I agree. We'll see what happens after this. And then we're going to have our main event. Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, is going to defend against Daniel Bryan. And as per last night, Edge is going to be the special guest ring enforcer. We haven't had a special ring enforcer in a while. In a long, long while. Like, they were all the rage in the 90s. But it's been a while since we've had that. So Edge is going to be involved here. There's a lot of moving parts, I find, in this one. I'm gonna let you set the stage here. What do you think about this match?
I think, like you said, there's a lot of moving parts. So I think Jey Uso is obviously going to be involved somehow and maybe take out Edge so Roman can capitalize and beat Daniel. I don't foresee Roman losing at all in this matchup. So they need to come up with some way, somehow, where Roman can overcome the odds against him with Edge being outside and Daniel Bryan. And that weapon is Jey Uso. So I can totally see Jey maybe taking out Edge and then Roman capitalizing on that. I think you have to have Roman going over here, but also you don't want Daniel Bryan to lose cleanly because you need to protect his image. I don't foresee him losing cleanly. So they need to come up with some scenario where Daniel can lose, but not lose cleanly, and also combat Edge on the outside somehow.
What I find interesting in this whole thing is the inclusion. It was last week when Edge did the promo on Daniel Bryan, where it was like, "Why are you doing this?" And Daniel Bryan's like, "Yo, I want to wrestle at WrestleMania again. I want to have a title match at WrestleMania again. What are you talking about? So I don't even think it's all that clear that Edge would side with Daniel Bryan as an enforcer in this match.
Fair enough.
This is one of the moving parts here that I don't think is super clear, and I think ultimately this is, as far as story goes, it is the most interesting element. Where what will Edge do? Will he really call it down the middle, or will he be a little more inclined to be like, no, I'm gonna have Roman go over because I, as a competitor, want to test my mettle against Roman Reigns, the head of the table, blah blah blah. Daniel Bryan afterthought kind of thing. So, and I'm just throwing this out here. Let's say that kind of situation happens. Edge sort of screws over Daniel Bryan to maintain his spot, because Edge's spot at WrestleMania is fine. He won it. He's cool. Basically, Edge is in a position to decide who he's going to fight. So let's say he screws over Daniel Bryan, keeps his match. What if Daniel Bryan comes back and is like, "Hey, you asshole," but not specifically. You screwed me out of this of an opportunity. I've been screwed out of opportunities twice. And I went to management, and management has decided to make this a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Because I still wonder just how far Edge is still capable of going. He had good matches last year with Randy Orton, but got injured again. We don't know necessarily the extent of it. Saw him wrestle last night. It was fine, but nothing where I'm like, okay, maybe they need a little third I was gonna say a little third person, because Daniel Bryan is short. That's
third party.
There you go. They'd need a third person in here, maybe to just take some of the weight off of Edge as a performer. I don't know.
I wouldn't be mad at it. I think it'd be great, but also Edge earned his opportunity to be in WrestleMania, and obviously Daniel's a great competitor, but you can't just go out there and be like, I want my spot, and then it gets rewarded, unless they have him
good point.
He has to beat, if he has to beat Edge or beat Roman or something, then yeah, we saw Daniel had to do many years ago. He had to go through somebody else to get inserted into the title picture with Triple H and then Batista and Randy at Mania. So I mean, I don't think it's logical or fair for Daniel to just demand something when Edge earned his spot in the Royal Rumble.
No, that's a good point. And frankly as well, on top of that, singles matches for big time titles at WrestleMania are preferable, I'd say. I think the only circumstance, and this was a missed opportunity for WWE, but I think having a Shield triple threat for the world title when they had you remember that Dean Ambrose guy when he was still around?
Yeah.
To me that would have made perfect sense as a main event for WrestleMania for a title, because the history, right? I can get behind the triple threat that they did for the women. Ronda, Becky, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I understood that as well, but I think there's always a preference for a singles for just a straight up one-on-one fight as opposed to multi-man, and I think that not saying it's an absolute, but I think it might. I think it's better perceived ultimately.
Or maybe we get Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan or something. I don't know.
Which is entirely possible. And you know what? I'd be okay with that. Jey needs, I think, Jey Uso needs a big time WrestleMania match. I think he does. Because Jey's been doing great work. I can't be alone in thinking that, right?
No, he's been absolutely incredible. We saw him last year get some singles pushes, or he was like leading the Survivor Series team. He got a decent push. And so that now he's just been kind of behind in the shadows of Roman Reigns. So why not let him get his moment? It doesn't even have to be like towards the main event. It could be earlier in the night, or
I
even on
agree.
a different night.
No, I agree. And I'd probably even go as far as to say that he's responsible, Jey Uso, he's responsible for the success of the Roman Reigns heel turn, because he was perfect in the role of in his dissenter role at first, when he wasn't sure he wanted to join up with Roman, and didn't quite get behind all of this, and he was like, family, high fives and smiles, and Roman was like,
nah,
there has to be something in the wings for him. I hope so anyway. So let's just be absolutely 100% clear here. Who do we think is winning this match? Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, who you got?
Roman Reigns. Cleanly, I don't think so, but Roman for sure.
I think that's. I don't think it's too much of a limb. We're not going too far out on a limb here. I think that's pretty much it. So there you have it, folks. That's WWE Fastlane 2021 that we just went over. Ella, overall, like your gut feeling going into it, do you think it's going to be a big thumbs up show, thumbs down, or maybe somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle. I feel like the Royal Rumble was great, and so I feel like comparing it to that, I'm like, you can't really top it. Elimination Chamber, excluding the ending, wasn't that thrilling. I was very thrilled at the ending with Miz cashing in, but this just feels like a kind of filler pay-per-view.
Yeah.
There's nothing. The only thing I'm like really, really invested in is the women's. Like, I want to see if like actually Sasha and Bianca like win them, or if they're finally who's gonna come out as the heel face dynamic. That's really the match I'm most looking forward to. There just doesn't seem to be a lot at stake. Like you said, Bobby Lashley is not like on the card. The match is already confirmed for Mania. There's not even like a number one contenders match. The only other thing is, will Daniel Bryan somehow be inserted into the main event picture at WrestleMania? So I don't know. I guess it's a final roadblock before Mania. Just nothing too big at stake here, I think.
And it's funny, we call it the roadblock, but you're supposed to be in the fast lane. And if you're in the fast lane and there's a roadblock, it's not going to end well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, there you go. Listen, Ella, thank you so very, very much for joining me today. I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation and that you hung around me early Saturday morning to talk about pro wrestling. You've got a big weekend coming up as well. You got all sorts of stuff coming up, making the rest of us look bad. Tell us about what's going on for those of you who are watching live and be able to catch Ella later on, and your social media, all that stuff. It's plug season, Ella. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like Warren said, I'm doing 3 different shows for Fastlane, including this one, which was fantastic. Like I told Warren, this was my first ever like non-Instagram live stream of wrestling. So this was a super cool experience for me. Hope everybody enjoyed. It was really, really fun. Tomorrow, I will be doing a WrestleMania pre-show with Battleground Podcast. Along with some other amazing ladies, Iridian, Lo, and Lena. So that'll be fun. And then we'll be doing a Fastlane post show right after with Rated R for Wrasslin'. So I will post all the links of that on my Twitter, which is twitter.com/itsellaj. And like Warren said, I am host of a Wrestling Gal podcast. You can find all the links in my Twitter bio, or you can go to awrestlinggal.com.
And make sure you do all of that, because Ella is worth it. She works really hard. Great interviews on top of that. She talks to Australians.
I love the Australians.
Ella, was a pleasure to have you. Thank you again so very much for being here. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on the Warren Hayes show.
There's no honor. I'm just a guy with the microphone. No. I'm super appreciative that people even just want to come talk wrestling with me. You know, it's fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us here this morning. Remember, hey, if you're watching on YouTube and you liked it, give the video a thumbs up. That kind of stuff really likes, and it really likes and it really helps as well. And we got to keep the comment streak going as well on my video. So drop a comment. We need 10 comments per video to keep that streak counter going up. Thank you everyone once again. Hope you have a great weekend and enjoy Fastlane. See you next time.
Vroom vroom.